Well, this was an interesting watch.
I'm having visions.
Okay, so Malignant is the newest James Wan movie, and it's the movie I've really been looking forward to. I was kind of disappointed that he didn't return for the third Conjuring movie, and that movie I think kind of suffered because of it. So, a few months later, he comes out with Malignant, and I don't really know how to feel about this movie. So I feel like kind of talking about it throughout this review will sort of help me figure it out. Right off the bat, when the movie started, the acting was very sort of questionable. Now, the main actress in the movie, Annabelle Wallis, she's fine. I think she did actually a pretty good job in this movie. However, everybody else, like, you're introduced as this one guy in the beginning of the movie, and it's almost like they just plucked him out of some like art school down here in LA, some drama school, and was like, "Here, be in this movie." It was just very, and his performance, along with some other people's performances and the way they act. I mean, as the movie keeps going, and I think what the movie ended up actually being, maybe that kind of acting sort of makes sense because this is very much more of a B horror movie in that aspect. And it being more of a B horror type movie is just not what I was really expecting going into the movie. And that doesn't mean that it's bad or anything, but it kind of caught me off guard in that way. The movie clocks in at just under 2 hours, and the movie gets started real fast. Within the first 5 minutes of the movie, you got a creepy mental hospital scene, you got camera work, which is awesome, and you got blood all over the place. I mean, what else can you really expect from a movie? And going off of that camera work real quick, the camera work in this movie is absolutely phenomenal. I've always liked what James Wan's able to do with his movies as far as the direction and stuff he's able to take, and with the cinematographer and everything in this movie. I think they did an absolutely great job with certain aspects of this movie. There's certain scenes where you have our main character in this movie who she's in one place and then the walls and everything else kind of start tearing down around her, and all of a sudden she's in another place. And if you've seen the trailer, you kind of see how that looks, and the effect and everything, the CGI used to create that effect, is done flawlessly in my opinion. And the story of the movie I thought was something original as well, because a lot of times, and especially me after watching the trailer for the movie, I was like, okay, is this just going to be one of those psychological horror movies? And I guess I shouldn't really say exactly what it is, because in a way, it'd be very easy to kind of spoil this film, but I'll say this. This movie is almost like split into two different movies. You got like the first maybe 50 hour of this movie, right? Which is basically more psychological horror. And you got like the second half of this movie, which is a lot more action based. And I really like that in an essence, but at the same time, I was so thrown off, and I don't know if the two really meshed together all that well, that when the credits finally rolled of this movie, I was sitting there thinking to myself, and that's why I started this review saying, I don't know exactly how I think, because it's almost like two different movies are at play here, but at the same time, it was almost something totally awesome. And the one big thing I'd say I'm really disappointed with this movie is how I talked about how the first half is something completely different from the second half, and how it's almost like two heads butting together. There's never really that horror aspect to me, because see, when I go and watch James Wan's movies, whether it's like Dead Silence or the first two Conjuring movies, I mean, those first two Conjuring movies, I've seen those movies multiple times, and they still kind of freak me out or still give me the jump scares every now and then. Nothing in this movie is ever really scary. And I mean, there's a few scenes here and there where you're kind of like, oh, that's interesting, or maybe there's a few tension here and there, but once that second half of the movie comes in, all tension and all scariness kind of goes away, and it's just, from there, it's now a slasher movie. And for me personally, I mean, I guess if you find slasher movies scary, maybe you might find some horror element into this as far as that goes. But to me, I never found movies like Halloween or Friday the 13th or anything like that. I've never found those movies to be scary, just more so kind of fun, bloody messes to go and watch. And I guess that's why I was so kind of almost confused at the end of this movie, because I just wasn't expecting this. And because I wasn't expecting this, that doesn't mean that this is a bad movie at all. It doesn't mean that at all. In fact, this movie has a lot of good things going for it. Like I said, the cinematography, the direction I thought was really good. Acting is very subpar, and the story was original. Now, the story is nothing fantastic or anything, but at least it's something original, at least for what I saw. And you kind of start to piece stuff together here and there. I kind of figured out what was going on maybe about 5 minutes or so before kind of the reveal of exactly what's going on. If you're not like someone that's really, I don't know, like really good at figuring out what's going on in movies, it might take you a while to really figure out what's going on in this movie. You might not figure it out at all until the movie actually tells you exactly what's going on. So in that aspect, the movie keeps you kind of guessing exactly what's going on. Is this girl crazy? Is she not? But there's just something about this movie basically being two separate movies butting heads that I just don't know if I'd ever watch this movie again. And I hate saying that because I've seen James Wan's movies multiple times. Like I said, I've seen the Conjuring movies multiple times. I've seen Dead Silence multiple times. I've seen Insidious multiple times. I've seen his movies multiple times. And I just don't know if I'll ever actually go and revisit this movie. And I hate that I have to say that because there's so much like technical brilliance of this movie as far as the direction, cinematography, and everything like that goes, and just the way it's like, this way it looks. It's so technically brilliant on that aspect. And while the story is original and everything, I just don't know if I can ever see myself watching this movie again, unless I was watching it again with like a friend that's never seen it, and I was kind of maybe waiting to just watch their reaction. Maybe I would watch it again in that aspect. But this is definitely a movie I think it's kind of like a one-time watch and never again. And I would definitely recommend probably watching this movie with some friends. Definitely worth watching, I think, with friends or whatever. But I don't think it's something you need to go out and watch in the theater or anything. It's streaming on HBO Max. If you have HBO Max, give it a watch. I think it's worth your time, just clocking it under 2 hours. But I guess I said earlier that I was kind of going to work through my thoughts in this review and of exactly what I thought about this movie. And I don't hate the movie. I don't love the movie. I guess at the end of the day, I think the movie's just okay. And it sucks because I was really looking forward to this movie, and it was a little bit of a letdown. Maybe I will eventually revisit it one day just to see if maybe it was the hype that killed this movie for me. But as of right now, to me, I just thought the movie was okay. But if you have HBO Max, I do think it's worth streaming it. Anyway, if any of you have seen Malignant, let me know what you thought about it in the comment section down below. And like always, I hope to see you back in my next one.
It's coming from me.